Hey everybody, last week of the semester, and good news and bad news. The good news is I'm done making these videos. I don't have to talk into my iPad alone in my office. You don't know how many times people come knocking on my door when I'm making these videos, and I got to stop it and start it over again. Or somebody will have a really loud conversation outside my office. I got to stop the video and restart it. If any of you have ever, if you know Dave Barry, that dude's got the loudest voice on the planet. If he's anywhere within like 200 yards, it's too loud and I gotta redo these videos. Anyway, so there's good news and bad news. There's no bad news. It's just good news. We're at the end of the semester. I want to say a couple things about power. Whenever we cover the topic on power, I think about a guy named Josh McDaniel. Josh McDaniels. He was head coach of the Denver Broncos for 2 years. And at the time, he was the youngest head coach in NFL history. I think he still is. That record still stands. But the thing about him was, being really young and being placed into that position. It was a classic overreaction to power, and he lost two key players, probably the best players on the team. He lost the quarterback, Jay Cutler, and he lost Brandon Marshall. They just refused to work with him because he came in with a really firm hand. Like I said, this is kind of a classic overreaction to power. And it seems like, based on your papers, other people have seen that. And the one thing I would caution is a lot of people talked about in your papers other people's overreaction to power. But the thing to keep in mind is that it's not just other people who react to power. It's part of human nature. And the reason I kind of leave, well, I don't kind of, I leave this as the last reading, is that this is the thing that I want to kind of ring in your ears as you go forward. This is also, in a way, the first thing that we talked about. If you recall 10 Biggest Lies of a Business School, it said that you should wear tape over your mouth when you start, when you get your first job, and you're the newly minted hotshot MBA. I think that's good advice, and I think it kind of fits nicely with this last reading, which is just suggest that people should not overreact to a gain in power. I want to say another thing, which is actually kind of not related to the readings. It's the quote that is often repeated: "Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely." That is often used to describe what happens to people when they gain power, and hence the connection with the current set of readings. But that's actually a misunderstanding of the original intent of that quote. Believe it is attributed to Lord Acton. What he meant was that other people's gains in power corrupt people. In other words, people become tolerant of powerful people's misdeeds. So this is something that you can see in the kind of current political climate. When other people are powerful, oftentimes we forgive them for things that we would not forgive of other people who are less powerful. That was the intent of that quote. So the thing that we read about was kind of the corrupting effects on the individual who has power, but that quote is actually about how other people's power, leaders' power, can corrupt followers. And that's also something to beware of. So the last thing I want to say is, for your readings, you don't have readings for next week, but what I'd like you to do for the final paper is kind of reflect on what we've covered. I change the readings frequently, and I never teach the exact same course 2 semesters in a row. So I'm kind of eager for your input on the readings that we've covered so far. I guess one last thing to say is that I've enjoyed teaching this class. I've taught this online a couple times, and I've met a ton of people this is the first semester that I've taught an online class and never actually met anybody in the class. So if you're around the summer, I'm typically around Mondays and Wednesdays. Stop by, knock on my door, complain about your grade if you want. I'll listen, I'll nod, I'll, do this, and we'll have a good conversation. Anyway, it's been a pleasure. This is the last video, and no Easter eggs here. Sorry, Easter's over.